Sankhya means number. Sankhya means number. It is a system by Master Kapila. He numbered the basic components of creation. As he has streamlined all the principles that involved in creation and numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So that is the basis of Sankhya philosophy. That is the reason why this is called the Sāṅkhya. Sankhya means number. That was the first time someone numbered the basic components of creation. And why he was entering into such an idea was he was tracing from where the suffering comes in animals and in humans. Generally there is suffering. Everybody has some form of suffering. So his intention was actually to trace the root of suffering and annihilate the root so that the suffering could be eradicated. That was actually the main idea of Kapila Maharishya. So when he was looking, he said, he understood that there are two principles which are there at the base of existence. And that two principles are, as we have seen yesterday, one is Purusha and the other is Prakriti. Purusha we can translate as consciousness. And later traditions like the idea of Brahman has come, and so probably that is the same idea of Purusha. But during the time of Shankara, the idea has changed and he said Brahman has no second, only one. There is no possibility for a second thing to come out of it. And then ultimately it is one and not two. So that is why his philosophy was called Advaita philosophy. There is no truth, only one. That was much later, after maybe nearly 1,900 years later. And so, during the time of Sankhya, duality was the idea, God and man, humans, or God and creation. And God is the source of creation. In all ancient traditions, there is a higher intelligence which is God. This can be a goddess, like Sāṅkhya tradition. Then Shaiva tradition, there is a God as the root of everything. And Vaishnava tradition, there is a God at the root of everything, God of existence. And so our philosophy was going like that, and then during the time of Sankhya, he really was looking at it and what is the basic components of nature. And he said, and he understood and he said, the basic components of nature not basic components of nature. The nature itself is a combination of so many ideas. Nature is at the root of existence. And then he traced and he understood that nature has more subtle aspects in it. The subtle aspect of nature for him is three qualities. The nature it's not a material. It's ultimately when you are analyzing the nature, you come across certain qualities. And these qualities are sattva, rajas and tamas. Sattva is clarity, light and knowledge. Rajas is passion to move and movement. Tamas is lethargy, sleep, darkness, ignorance. So this is how he has seen. So see, when you come to the quality, actually there is no material. It is beyond that material form. So at the root of existence, there is some quality which is there, and that is he named as sattva, rajas and tamas. Then everything came out of Sattva, and from there Rajas came, and from that Tamas came. So he has specified the order of creation. At the beginning of nature, there was Sattva evolved. From Sattva, Rajas evolved. From Rajas, Tamas evolved. Not all of a sudden, all the three things came at the same time. It is not like that, according to Purusha. So one was coming from the other. So the first evolved quality was Sattva. Sattva for him is clarity, light and knowledge. From that, knowledge must be there for some vibration or movement. How to move should be there. Otherwise, the movement is not possible. So Sattva is knowledge itself. And with that knowledge, if we decide to do something, because knowledge is already there, if he decides the knowledge wants to do something, it can operate. And so from the Sattva, a desire to move came. This is how he conceived it. A desire to move came. The desire to move, and as a result of the desire to move, something moved. Desire to move and movement evolved. The desire to move or passion to move and movement is called a Rajasic quality. As a result of the movement, something starts to generate or create. Something slowly starts to form. And when something is formed, like for example, subatomic particles or whatever, and something has formed like that is very Rajasic in nature, very dynamic in nature, it's big movement, high velocity movement. And then they got combined together, or some attraction or something, and they started to combine together, and these particles combine together to form atoms. Maybe this idea might be already there. In Vaisheshika philosophy, this Kanada, and he has actually made the philosophy of atom. Everything is made up of atom. That is what Kanada has said before Sankhya. So actually that path is actually a little bit open during Kanada's, not little bit, well elaborately evolved by the previous philosopher Kanada.
Previous philosopher
Kanada. And so he evolved that philosophy. So during Sankhya, the base is already there. So Sankhya has to look how this is happened. So he has seen there must be a quality before the particle, and that has really made the particle. Another is very interesting. What happened as a youngster or a small boy, he was taking some milk and the milk bottle fell from him and the milk disappeared. That's how he started to look at it. And the milk was not there anymore. It just spread and it disintegrated and it became small particles. So from that idea, he was looking at the creation, and he understood that everything is made of small particles. This is the incident which they say, which has pushed him to come to this inquiry. So then during Sankhya time, he has been trying to see and go beyond the particle, and so there must be some quality which was there. So certainly there must be a desire to make something. Knowledge was there, in the knowledge there came a desire to make something, and as a result of that, it started to move towards some direction. And that is a quality to move or desire to move and movement. Okay. That Sankhya said it is rajasic quality, active quality. As a result of these particles, and they originated and they combined together and they made some molecules or maybe atoms, molecules, compounds, and then the concrete, original concrete world. He is not talking about this world, he is talking about the universe. So the universe originated like this, and so some concrete material evolved. And when something is concrete, it is not moving. The earth itself is moving. All the maybe the material in our world is part of earth. Elsewhere it is all like some kind of material. All the stars or whatever, they are all material, some form of material is there. But it is appearing as a solid matter. When something appears to be a solid thing, and when we look at that solid thing, it is not moving. In human perspective, it's not moving, it is solid. The floor is not moving, table is not moving, and nothing is moving, everything appears to be very static. And this static state he said as lethargic state, static state, immobile state. And as against the quality of light which was felt by the explorer, his sattva quality is not anymore seen in material. The light is not emitted out of it. Though there is light inside, in the energy form there is light, but it is not seen. So objects are looking like opaque material. And that opaque nature, the lethargy, sleep, darkness, all these things, all these qualities put together, he named it as tamas, tamasic quality. So this is what Sankhya said. So at the beginning, there evolved a quality, and that quality was sattva, which is clarity, light and knowledge. There is actually nothing, just knowledge, and knowledge itself is something which is very, very subtle, and very great clarity is there. There is nothing in the world in the universe before the beginning. So from there, some light came, some knowledge came, and there was clarity to make something, and that is why he considered the sattva as clarity, light and knowledge. From that, a desire to move evolved, and as a result of the desire to move, movement evolved. So desire to move and movement together we consider as rajasic quality. Then, as a result of the movement, things starts to meet together and combine together, form molecules or compounds or material. When it is in a material form, the quality is different now. It has not formed, but that quality was already there in everything. That is what he was conceiving. The quality was already there, evolved from the sattva, rajas, tamas. So a static nature was there already there in the creation. From rajas, evolved from rajas. So these three qualities evolved. That is the root of nature. And so he called this as the Moola Prakriti, the root nature. The root of Prakriti is this three qualities. Prakriti is manifested and it is so many things, but the root lies in sattva, rajas and tamas. And he very clearly said that at the beginning when it started to create and there was sattva quality evolved, actually that is not right to say like that, but I say it and then I correct it. Sattva quality evolved, from sattva rajas evolved, from rajas tamas evolved. But something that is evolved needs to go back into the emptiness. But according to Sankhya, that idea is not there. In Sankhya, Everything that is evolved from the quality goes back to the quality and stays as quality. Okay? This is what he says. Everything that we see in the manifested world comes from the root Prakriti, which is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And at the time of dissolution, everything dissolves back into the quality. So that means quality remains. Quality is always there. But how quality was evolved? According to Sankhya, quality evolved not all of a sudden, all the three qualities, but quality one by one evolved. Okay. And it is there. It is not going to be destroyed. Everything which we see, which is the byproduct of this quality, goes back at the time of dissolution and becomes the quality.
Sattva initially came from nature.
Prakriti was not. It's a confusion is that. If we are asked a question to analyze this question I looked and I saw myself, and so I made a little theory for myself to link some missing part. Because when you are tracing, you come to this point. So from where Sattva came? But when you look at the theory of Sankhya, you see Sattva evolved first, from Sattva Rajas evolved, from Rajas Tamas evolved. But at the time of dissolution, everything goes back to Tamas, from there to Rajas, or from there to Sattva, if it has come in this way. But at least Sattva must be there. That is not what is said. Though one is coming from the other, all the three qualities are the root of nature. Everything, whatever we see in the nature, will go back to the root and rest there as the quality. That is what he says. But the question which you asked is a relevant question. From where this Sattva came? It must come from somewhere. But there is actually no big answer. Prakriti evolved as qualities. We only see like that in Sankhya. The first evolved quality was Sattva, from Sattva Rajas, from Rajas Tamas. And these three together is the Mula Prakriti. Everything came out of Mula Prakriti. It goes back and trust in the Mula Prakriti at the time of final dissolution. One day when the world, everything finishes, it goes back to Mula Prakriti and stays there. And then maybe after millions of years, then again it comes back from that. So, if it is so, it must be there already. You don't need to evolve, it must be there. And then we feel that it must be there from the very beginning. But then the question is, how can it come out? So, before the quality was what was there, if we ask the question, we come to the answer nowadays. It is 2,600 years ago, Kapila has come to that. That was, I think, it was a big understanding at that time. Now we have so many tools to, human brain may be also developed in our thinking process quite a lot. So now when we ask the question, what was there before the beginning, there must be an answer for us, and that answer is there must be nothing.
Sir, most Prakriti came out from the Purusha.
No, that is the thing. It didn't come from Purusha, that is it.
That means, was the Prakriti with all qualities of Purusha or the
I can explain. Because in Sankhya does not say that.
According to Kapila, Purusha, Prakriti is separate. So what is the role of this Purusha?
No role. Purusha, it specifically said, Purusha has not involved in anything. Purusha has no role in creating the nature. This is Sankhya. Sankhya says like that. Purusha has no role in creating Prakriti. Prakriti was self-born as a separate idea. It's not coming out of Purusha.
So why should it be there, Purusha? Why that concept should be there?
Okay, I can explain it. In the way I have been also looking and trying to solve these issues for myself, because there are some missing links which I have seen. Then for my sake, I have connected the missing link. That I can solve. I started with this question, like a story. This theory is like a story, to get a little clarity from you. I asked the question, what was there before the beginning? That's the question usually in meditation I ask. What was there before the beginning? What was there? Human mind simply say that there was nothing. Mind cannot see anything. But it creates an idea that before the beginning there must be nothing. There must be nothing. So from nothingness, how can something came into being? If it was nothing, how can there be something coming out of that emptiness? So some schools they say that the emptiness or the background, the ultimate background, that background remains as a witness. So he never involves in any program. This is what Sankhya believes. The emptiness is not involving anything. It is before the beginning, so I made a story format like this to easily understand. The story starts with the model, not the story, a model. The model starts with a question. What was there before the beginning? Answer comes from our human mind that before the beginning there must be nothing. So, this nothingness, if it is nothingness, it's just model I mean. This emptiness must be there everywhere. And then there is a foolery in that, because time and space has not evolved. So how could you put the idea everywhere? Everywhere is an idea of space. The space was not evolved at all. So, this is very rational questions. So if space was not there, how could you say that it was there everywhere? There is no space. See, it becomes a little strange when you ask the question, what was there before the beginning? There was nothing. The second sentence, I add to it and put a question. So the emptiness was there everywhere. So added the idea of space into it. An idea of space was added by my mind or human mind. If it was there everywhere, the emptiness. If the emptiness was there everywhere, how can it be emptiness? It was full with emptiness. But see, there comes another idea of fullness. It's the same. It is emptiness, but at the same time, it was full. So it.
Only when the concept of space is there can be this concept of fullness. Then space contains the emptiness. So the concept of space has to be there.
The concept, that is how the creation starts with this kind of ideas. Emptiness was there everywhere. That is what our mind is saying. So as something is there everywhere, it must be creating an idea of space. So we have created the idea of space, and so we started to see that the space contains the emptiness. If I say emptiness is there. So this emptiness was there everywhere. So the idea came, it must be not emptiness, it must be fullness. The idea of fullness was that. Okay, maybe in the origin, just a story. It's not science or anything, it's just a story. It was there everywhere, full and complete. But nothing, it is empty. So now, so many centuries, Indian philosophers were fighting each other for this. So it must be full and it must also be empty. Some people have considered it as empty and some other group considered it as full. And if I say there was empty, there was nothing, it's only emptiness. Some other says it is full and complete. There were two philosophies in India, the Hindu tradition and the Buddhist tradition said ultimately there is only emptiness. There is nothing. They were fighting each other, hitting each other.
That emptiness is feeling full of energies, or they are
Emptiness has no energy. Emptiness has no energy. Then something might have started. So I was looking at it and I was trying to understand it myself. So now when we are looking at the present state, when we are looking at the emptiness, a lot of things are there. Energy is there, particles are there, the light is there. There is a lot of things involved. In the universe, not only Earth, in the universe, a lot of materials and forms and globes and everything is there. That is a reality, so-called reality for us now. So-called reality. So, from where this is coming? So, I was thinking that it was, something was there which was full and empty at the same time, depending upon the viewer's perspective. Now, we are exploring a science or creating a science. So depending on my perspective, I can see it as empty or I can also see it as full with emptiness. So I see it in this way. And so, if it was full with emptiness or emptiness, then there must be the Purusha there, and there must be the Prakriti also, the root of Prakriti also there. Sankhya is starting from there. But from where this base has come? So I have seen, in my exploration, I have seen that in Prakriti there was consciousness and awareness. Consciousness could be considered as knowledge itself. Awareness is a little different from that it leads you to consciousness when you become aware of something. If you are not aware of something, there is nothing. So there are two aspects you could see. There is consciousness and there is awareness. You can see there is consciousness and there is another thing which is very close to consciousness, which is awareness. Consciousness is immobile. The background is full. As it is full, there is no movement possible. But a part of there was no part, it was full, but there was hidden in it the idea of awareness or the awareness. Awareness is a process. Consciousness is something which is always there, which is, you cannot say static, but it is just full and complete. So the awareness part of this source, what it could do. As it is awareness, it is a program of knowing. So the consciousness remained as it is and the awareness started to know. Because awareness is a program for knowing. When it started to know, there happened duality. It was one and complete, but in the one and complete thing, an aspect of it which inherently wants to know. So when it wants to know, it saw itself separate from the consciousness. It's an idea I'm saying. It started to see itself separate from the consciousness. That is an illusory idea, but it felt like that. Awareness started to see itself separate from. So there happened two things, two aspects. One is consciousness. Sankhya says consciousness is not involved, it simply remained. To substantiate Sankhya, I added this small story there. And when you look through the story, of course there is a part which is not separate, but of some reason at certain point it wants to know. When it wants to know, it could know. The idea of knowing it was there, but it never manifested. But at a certain point it wants to know and then it starts to know. Move towards knowledge. And as it so happened, that was the first movement of the creation. That is why Sāṅkhya says, to substantiate Sankhya, I added this small piece for my sake to understand and get a clarity. So when it so happened, from awareness, knowledge came. Sankhya says, Sattva came first. Knowledge, light and clarity came first. So it must come from the awareness part. The consciousness remained as it is. This is what Sankhya says. Purusha remained as Purusha and Prakriti started manifesting. So the root of Prakriti, for clarity, I consider it as awareness. Knowledge and awareness are inseparable, but something has happened for the awareness to feel who am I or something like that. So it started to understand that it is different from the consciousness. That's the first movement. To substantiate Sankhya's thinking, I looked through this way, this perspective, and I felt this must be what Kapila was thinking. The origin may be not at all like that nobody knows. But according to the insight of Sankhya, Sankhya says Prakriti remained as Prakriti and Purusha remained as Purusha. Prakriti manifested as quality and now everything is there. And if at all it goes one day back to the source, it will go and end up in the Mula Prakriti. It is not dissolving into consciousness. Is it complicated? So,